Hi, I'm Nick. Today I'd like to talk about ordinance or law coverage and why this is an important property coverage to have. Ordinance or law is defined as coverage for loss resulting from compliance with or enforcement of ordinances that regulate construction, demolition, repair, or use of property. You're probably thinking, isn't this covered under my standard business policy? That answer would be no. Ordinance or law consists of three parts. The first is coverage for the loss to the undamaged portion of the building. An example of this would be a $2 million building is 50% destroyed by a tornado, and the local code requires that the undamaged part of the building be demolished. Your standard insurance policy does not pay for the undamaged portion of the building that must be destroyed because of local code. It would only pay to repair the 50% of the building that was damaged. To be insured for that, this is where the first part of ordinance or law coverage comes into play. The second is for demolition costs. As the insured, you must specify what limit you want. Using the example of the $2 million building, the standard property policy will pay to clear away debris from the tornado. It will not pay to demolish the undamaged 50% of the building and clear the site. This is what demolition cost is for. And finally, the third is increased cost of construction. This is the part of ordinance or law coverage that can start to add up if losses were to occur. For this coverage, you'll need to consider if there are any ordinance or laws that will require reconstruction to meet certain building reconstruction standards to the undamaged portion of the building. Some examples of this would be the American Disabilities Act Standards for Accessible Design. This act affects any business open to the public and would include upgrades such as making the building handicap accessible by installing ramps, grab bars and raised toilet seats, widening doors, and changes to carpeting. The second is sprinkler protection requirements. For example, in many communities, restaurants that seat more than 90 people require the entire facility to be sprinklered. Think about the increased cost of construction if your building wasn't previously sprinklered. The third is changes in structural design because the risk is located in a special flood hazard area. Finally, the last is upgrades needed to HVAC, plumbing, electrical, and roofing. Consider in the event of a loss, your roof needs to be completely replaced. If the old roof doesn't meet the current energy code, the standard property policy will pay the cost of replacing the old roof. It will not pay the increased cost of upgraded insulation or other expensive measures that may be needed to meet the current code. As you start to think about the building or buildings you may own, think of a loss such as a tornado or fire and what upgrades would be required in your building because of local ordinances or laws. The older the building, the more upgrades that will be required. So how do you determine how much ordinance or law coverage you should buy? Your best bet would be a customized appraisal by an appraiser who is knowledgeable about local building codes. This may cost a little bit of money, but is well worth the investment to properly insure your building. If you have an existing West Bend business policy, there is some coverage for ordinance or law included. Talk to your independent agent to learn more and discuss if you need additional property coverages to be protected.